Thank you very much, Daniel. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. As Daniel mentioned, the topic of the panel is DeFi, the future of finance. I'm joined today by three extraordinary gentlemen, all busy in the field of finance and decentralized finance. So I have with me Laurent from Société Générale, head of innovation there. Sergej, who is the co-founder of 1inch Network. They're most well known, I would say, for their aggregator protocol. And Don, who is co-founder of the HBAR Foundation, who are a multiplier that plan to help builders and creators grow and overcome the challenges they face in bringing their ideas to market, specifically on the Hedera ecosystem. So I want to start the panel right away, get right into it, and begin with Sergej, and then move around with the question kind of, for you, what is the most exciting aspect or promise of decentralized finance right now that you are working or dreaming towards?
So from our point of view, DeFi is opening doors for everyone to get access to a financial system. So right now around the globe, not everyone can open an account and transfer money to somewhere. So in Africa, you can use mobile phone, and we are as like mobile provider. You can send the money, but it can be easier and more safe and by using a decentralized finances, by using Ethereum virtual machine, the Ethereum network, which ensures that you own your money if you keep it on your wallet. Yeah, that's most really exciting and promising. So in the future, I guess if we will grow this space, we will see also more spaces where cryptocurrencies is in use. For example, we pay something in the shops. Right now, here in Germany, I cannot pay everywhere with Visa or MasterCard. It's also like stupid. We're we have 2021, and it's easier to pay right now with crypto than with MasterCard potentially, from the technology perspective, because there are no middlemen in the middle where you have also pay additional fees, and that's why no one is allowing Visa payments right now in the shops. There's a lot of potential for decentralized finances.
Perfect. Yeah, understood. Lots to unravel there. I guess the overarching vision of opening the markets and finance and banking for everybody, one of the driving factors behind decentralized finance. Laurent, anything to add from your side? What is it for you that makes decentralized finance so alluring?
Yeah, so good afternoon to all of you. So I'm very pleased to be with you today. So I will represent the traditional finance. I'm not the decentralized finance. So I'm part of not the old world, but the old world that are going to move in the new world. Yes, I see a lot of very exciting project in the world of the decentralized finance. But I would say that I'm also impressed about the different aspects, and especially the promise of automation, because automation was a key topic for the traditional finance, and now we can see that with a smart contract we can execute a lot of interesting things within the decentralized finance, and it takes sometimes seconds instead of hours or days. Compared to the other world. So one aspect is the automation, and the second aspect is innovation, because with the DeFi, you have the possibility to create new products and also to innovate also in terms of products. So, but yes, we have to link the world of blockchain and the traditional finance now. So definitely, yes, very impressed by the project and the aspect of automation and innovation.
Fantastic. Yeah, very important part, and something that we'll certainly come back to in this panel is bridging this gap, moving from the old world to the new world, and seeing what benefits it does or doesn't have. Don, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I love that intro, because that's pretty much our square focus, is bridging that gap with a foot in both worlds, from both a traditional finance perspective and DeFi perspective. I think for me, the excitement centers around two of the features of DeFi and crypto in general. One as composability, and the second as portability. So I think from a composability perspective, what continues to amaze me is the amount of innovation you see by different services plugging in to different services. So you've got one concentrated on lending, another concentrated on exchange, another concentrated on price feeds. And I think that theme of composability is what's going to start to bring in more and more users, more and more institutions as they pick and choose those pieces that are most relevant to them to incorporate. So Shinhan Bank, for instance, is leveraging a Korean won-backed stablecoin in some of their testing on Hedera. It's a good choice or showcase of how they can take that asset and start to leverage it within their broader system without needing to, fully re-architect their bank. But second, and I think most importantly, is portability. Sergej mentioned, you go where your keys go, or your assets go where your keys go is probably what I should say. And that centering on the user and the owner of assets as the primary, financial actor, I think is one of the coolest things about the space, because it shows how they can move across services, across institutions, profit seeking or really optimizing to their needs as first and foremost. So those two for me are most exciting around composability and portability, and continue to innovate and show things that, previously I didn't think, and I think many thought weren't possible.
Fantastic. Sure. And you mentioned also a bit of picking and choosing. Also something I want to talk about later is how far a transition should go. But for now, I want to focus on bridging the gap, like you said, because I think it's important to think about how these banks can actually bridge the gap. How can centralized traditional banks continue to compete in a more and more decentralized world, or at least in the sense of finance, decentralized world? So I think I can give the word again to Don. You were on a nice roll there, and then go out from there. What do you think? What is the future looking like for banks that we have today?
I'd say it's much like the history we saw over the last 2 years. I'll credit, I think it was Multicoin has a great kind of graphic on this. It starts with the unit of account at the base layer, moving up to oracles, moving up to markets, so on and so forth. And you saw the DeFi space go through that. We had initial ICOs and token launches, and you now see more and more complex, more and more advanced aggregators, yield programs, et cetera. Banks themselves, like the broader space, are starting at that base layer with the unit of account. How do I hold tokens on a balance sheet? How do I leverage them for more efficient payments? But I think we'll continue to see them move up the stack in their usage over time. So for me, it's all about beginning at that base layer with the asset and token onboarding. And that opens the door for all of the innovation we've seen in the DeFi space coming to the traditional finance space.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Laurent, you were nodding your head a lot.
Yeah. So for me, DeFi is at the early stage for the moment. And when you were talking about competition, for me, it's like at the beginning of 2018, 16, we were talking about competition between fintech and banks, and now we are talking about competition. It's the same from DeFi. It's not a competition between traditional finance and decentralized finance. So there is place for DeFi, there is place for CeFi, there is place for traditional finance, and DeFi will not replace the traditional finance. So in the traditional finance, you are regulated. It's another world. I'm working for traditional finance, but as head of innovation, I know what's happening in the centralized finance and in the decentralized finance. It's two different worlds. We are regulated. We have a lot of constraints. We need to deal with the investor protection. And I will take my personal example. I have been hacked 2 times. It was 4 or 5 years ago with my credit card. And, with a bank, I have received the cash 2 weeks after. If it was the same with my wallet, you don't have a client service department. You will call the decentralized finance. Hey, I have been hacked. Can you give me my sandbox, please? Or can you give me my Bitcoin or Ether? No, it's not possible. So we need to find the bridge. We are regulated. The DEX is not yet regulated, maybe one day. And we need just to find the use cases where it makes sense to bridge the gap. And at Société Générale, with our subsidiary Société Générale Forge, we have an interesting track record of tokenization of financial assets. We have already tokenized bonds, certificate products, and so on in a public blockchain. And we believe that it makes sense to bridge the gap by bringing our tokenized bonds as a collateral in the protocol DAO maker. And we have made a submission for collaboration to the forum. So the idea is to bring the collateral. We have 0%, but we give the collateral, and we will receive back the DAI as a stable coin. So definitely, it's an example of bridging the gap between the traditional finance and the decentralized finance.
Yeah, it's fantastic to see traditional centralized finance pushing the envelope like that and trying to move forward into the space. Let's jump across the pond and ask Sergej, someone who is certainly with both feet fully in the decentralized finance space, at least I would expect. What are your thoughts on it about bridging the gap? Do you see space for both? Do you think there will be competition, cooperation?
So I see DeFi as a next step for traditional finance system. So in DeFi, we have no, how already mentioned, middlemen, brokers who humans, who are not that efficient compared to maybe a program, which can run fully autonomously on a blockchain, and it's just doing what it should do. And right now, like when a bank transfer, would like to exchange, for example, US dollar to euro, they need to work with someone else, with third parties, maybe with other banks and so on. Then it takes time maybe to transfer money and getting the euros, or they have to maybe buy an option or whatever. And it is really complicated. How I know, I'm not from traditional financial space, but what I heard, there's a lot of pain. It works. From my point of view, it's slow to compare to DeFi, and DeFi solves these problems. You can just easily exchange on an AMM or through an aggregator on chain. From my point of view, in the first stages, it could be maybe a private network for the banks, just for the banks. Like just look on the telecommunication space. You have SS7 around the globe. It's a very old protocol what they use, but still they communicate somehow through the same protocol. Of course, on the traditional finance, there are also standards, but DeFi, like blockchain, Ethereum, in the first place, is more efficient from our point of view, and it's easier. It's easier to make an exchange. It's fully transparent. Everyone understands who got what and why. And I don't think so that DeFi will compete with traditional finances. I see banks and other institutions as a gatekeeper for DeFi, so they can aggregate own customers and open the doors to DeFi by using it in compliant manner. And from our point of view, it's possible. It should come in the next years. It's regarding the regulation of taxes and whatever else there, like lending protocols. It's already almost there. Aave started to offer kind of institutional products, and also Consensus working on that, and also MakerDAO has already some candidates, and are more coming right now. And it's evolution. It's not a revolution. It's an evolution of the financial system from our point of view.
Yeah, I think just to jump in, that last point for me is what's really compelling about traditional finance entering the space. DeFi showed that you could have people as markets infrastructure providing liquidity with direct access to those markets. And I think traditional finance represents how we can expand access to that set of services. And so when it's usage and onboarding and regulation in the interest of enabling access versus restricting access, I think it's very powerful and very exciting, as that's where the majority of the world still engages with their financial assets. And so we should be eager for that access to DeFi, to tokens, to crypto to be broadened through those institutions.
I think seeing it as an evolution is probably really the best approach and the correct approach. In that sense, I do want to speak about making sure that nobody's left behind, because we have this vision of DeFi as established earlier as kind of opening it to the people, opening the market to the people, being banking for everybody. But how do we ensure that people are not left behind, be it for a lack of digitalization in their area or a lack of education in this regard, or in the case of traditional banks, maybe as we see maybe their customers becoming older, do we want this older generations to join DeFi as well, or do we kind of say, well, it's not relevant for them? What are your thoughts on that and making sure everybody can make the transition?
Maybe, yes, if you want, I can start. It's a depend-on question. I believe that it's a very important to look to the segmentation of the clients. You have the individuals, you have the corporate, and you have the financial institution. And the answer will be different depending on the type of client. For the retail, I believe that if you don't want to be left behind the DeFi, it's a question of education, access, and simplicity. Because yes, I can understand DeFi because I'm working in the financial institution and in the blockchain since a long time ago. But yes, it will not be the case for everybody. So education is very important when you are talking about retail. And of course, protection is also very important. When you are talking about corporate and when you are talking about financial institution, for me, the most important will be the clarity and the regulation. For me, it's a very valid point, because if I want to enter tomorrow in the world of DeFi, I will need to have the agreement from the regulator, and to ensure that what I'm doing is in line with the regulation, with the requirement, and also that I can do it on behalf of my clients. So for me, regulation is definitely a valid point for the DeFi, education, and also simplicity. Sometimes it's not always easy to understand.
Of course. Sergej, would you like to jump on that?
Yeah, this is like DeFi is like, from our point of view, it's like internet from the early stage of internet. Yeah, so everyone didn't expect that like internet would be like that useful and that open for everyone actually. And it's from our point of view the same with DeFi, and we need a little bit time to have better tools, better kind of user-friendly access to DeFi, and some regulation for sure. And then we will see it growing maybe to the main financial system, not around the globe, maybe beyond the Earth.
On the meta.
That also, yes. And Don, as somebody that's working in a foundation that really wants to help these builders and creators reach the people, what do you think is one of the challenges that they face that you want to help solve?
I mean, I think just on that question of how to make sure nobody gets left behind, what we see this in this market is similar to what happened in payments and digital identity. You saw emerging markets like Estonia with digital identity, or M-Pesa from a payments perspective, that really leapfrog traditional infrastructure to give a direct user experience for this new innovative technology. And I think with DeFi and crypto, especially in emerging markets, we're seeing a similar pattern, where some of the most active banks in central bank digital currency, for instance, or embracing tokens. I think it was a group in Cambodia today just said Tether's their new currency. You see them pursuing that same leapfrog strategy, which I think is a good indication that there's going to be a way to bring a broader community into this technology, into this marketplace, which is quite exciting.
Okay, certainly. Very exciting. So I have an audience question as well that I want to ask you. And I think maybe, Laurent, it might be one that you've answered before, but I would like to take it to you anyways. The question is, how long will it take until most assets from the traditional financial market are tokenized and available for DeFi? And in that sense, to add another question on it, do you think we will see a full death of the order book and everything will be using liquidity pools?
Okay, so I will take my crystal ball and I will just tell you that it will not be for tomorrow, because yes, there will be a new acceleration in in 2022. I believe that there will be a strong acceleration in the tokenization of assets. This is the first step. A second step will be the rise of central bank digital currency, stablecoin, more stablecoin in euro, because the financial model is not okay, because 98% of the stablecoin are in US. So if you want to move, because I will have my retreat, my pension, I will be paid in euro. I have my salary in euro. So it will take time, of course. We need to wait. The central bank digital currency, of course. And yes, it will take time. It's like for the crypto. I believe that in 2030, we will have a first adoption phase for me in terms of DeFi and pure digital bank. But it will take time, of course, because I can tell you that I'm working with the blockchain since 2010, so it's already 11 years. So yes, I was talking like that in 2015 already. So yes, it will take time.
Yeah, no, it is a bit of a crystal ball question. Would anybody else here like to read their omens? Add something to it.
So from my point of view, it can take like 20 years.
You can't tell that for you.
The thing is, like, it's not that easy to migrate from something what is working and working for really hundreds of years. Yeah. And also this topic, digitally, to move to digital environment in the companies, like for example in Germany, a lot of companies are still in the process to move this everything what they have to kind of digital company, and like it takes already 20 years almost, and it can also take the same for the DeFi. But new companies are coming, new projects are coming. So in our case, I and Anton, we just came to an idea on a hackathon because, like, I don't know, we had the pain and we solved it. And this is what is possible with DeFi. You can just jump in, build something, you solve a problem, and something new is growing and would also replace something what is already existing. Also, if you are looking back to Amazon, for example, when Amazon started to grow, and Google and everything, yeah, like similar, like Apple, Facebook, they replace some of the companies in multiple countries, and the same we will see also in DeFi. DeFi is like more transparent and also easier to participate.
I'd just say that, especially as an ecosystem fund, you know, that's our bread and butter, and we see everybody from hackathon teams and individual developers all the way up to the world's largest institutions that, you know, are looking for that support to be building in the space and starting to leverage this technology. And I think what's most exciting, to Laurent's point, is there's very few institutions which have not been looking at this by this point for years. And so when they're making steps, when they're doing proof of concepts, onboarding different applications, it's with a lot more intentionality to scale than I think it was previously. In a former life, you know, I was helping institutions with those proof of concepts and all kinds of use cases, you know, supply chain, this, that, and the other, and just how much more concentrated it is now is, I think, indicating that it's really going to be accelerating in the coming year for usage.
Fantastic. And as we kind of see this acceleration and growth, different proof of concepts, possibly also done on different chains. I want to take up this concept of the future is multi-chain. Is it not? What do you guys think? Where do you see potential in this regard? And maybe then also how would banks work with this kind of idea that they have to be not only on one chain but multiple chains and be able to kind of bridge effectively?
Yeah, so if we talk about banks, I can answer. Yes, we have made more than 40 experimentation at Société Générale since 2014. We have made experimentation with Ethereum, public Ethereum, with Hyperledger, with R3. So with a dozen of blockchain, I believe that there will be still different blockchain, of course. Interoperability will be key, and of course, our role will change in the future. We will have also to integrate all the different chain from to answer the request of the client. So for me, we will not have only one chain, and the role of the different stakeholder will change in the future. A lot of integration and integrator. A bank can be an integrator of blockchain in the future. But we have
okay.
Yeah, happy to go next on this one. I mean, so admittedly biased, we primarily support deployment and usage of the Hedera network. We think it's got those differentiators from a governance perspective, a performance and cost perspective, and a sustainability perspective that make it very accessible for mainstream institutional and DeFi use cases. But that being said, the world is absolutely a multi-chain world. We know that liquidity is portable between networks, within networks, and driven by yield-seeking and profit-seeking opportunities by users, and that's a very good thing. And so we believe absolutely that networks should be connected to one another so that markets can form based on communities of interest where they're best built. So we might have, a specialty in sustainability markets as an example, or bond tokenization, and that should be easily interoperable with another market in a different place for something like collectibles. So we 100% believe in an interoperable world and want to see networks connected to one another as part of that.
I would like to add, so regarding multi-chain, so we have seen a lot of projects growing in this space this year, like Binance Smart Chain started on-chain, Polygon, and from our point of view, it was just because of this high demand. A lot of people wanted to use blockchain, but like it's too expensive on Ethereum. Ethereum is the most, I would say, stable and secure blockchain because of a lot of miners and so on and so on. Yeah, it's difficult to attack this network, and other networks who just copy Ethereum and introduce actually like proof of stake, but it's just proof of authority, what is existing since years, and say, okay, it's cheap, but at the end they actually didn't solve any problem. They just show us what's happening with Ethereum if you don't change Ethereum in the next years. And what we see is reorganizations between the nodes, and we have also some aggregation services which we provide from our side, and it's really difficult to maintain like Polygon and Binance Smart Chain because they actually didn't solve the problem. Yeah, and the problem could be solved by introducing like layer 2. We have already like Optimism and Arbitrum, but CK Sync is coming, for example, with real proofs. So you can interact directly and really fast with layer 2 from Ethereum. And I and my co-founder, we were talking with Vitalik Buterin about that, how he see it. And what I got from him, that he see like more kind of potential use case of layer 2 above Ethereum, because Ethereum is really stable, yeah, really secure, and later with proof of stake, yeah, it would be like green. So, and layer 2 above, actually done what you said, that you can have like NFT market in one network. It was actually like the idea of Polkadot to have multiple chains, but it's difficult, yeah, technically difficult, but it's easy to use just math, cryptographic, and have a layer 2 for additional markets. Of course, you don't have such a composability. You need kind of layer 2 and all the projects deploying like on layer 2, and then you have decomposability and the benefits of DeFi. But it's still possible to just say, okay, this NFT market should run on layer 2, and it commits just to the really stable, secure mainnet. This could be a good solution from my point of view, and other not efficient solutions and just copies and really not solving problems. Chains, they don't have any future. Like the state of Binance Smart Chains exploded, and it's really difficult to run a full node right now.
That's, I mean, very interesting. So there's kind of the vision that maybe the future isn't so super multi-chain at all, after all, or, well, I mean, as all of us, probably we just really don't know yet what is going to happen, right? We're all taking educated guesses.
I think on that, I mean, we'll absolutely see consolidation, and by no means are all networks equal, whether that's from a leader-based and proof of authority consensus model, making things very risky, all the way to more novel consensus, which can be more secure. But I think that idea of composability as a means to connecting those networks, whether it's using EVM and Solidity-based smart contracts across multiple networks, or having unique governance models on different networks, is a real opportunity for valuable differentiation in those networks. Ethereum absolutely, is the most proven, one of the longest running smart contract platforms, and can and should always be a core place of innovation. But I think that other networks can be, the mechanism by which you onboard an institution through a bond tokenization platform. Of course, Laurent, I know, has experimented on Ethereum, but it is still in that, I think, multi-chain world that we'll see growth continue and innovation continue as well. The layer 2 space as a great example of that as well.
Oh, certainly, yeah, quite interesting, and the maturing, it's hard to speak of the maturing of a market when we're so early still, but I guess that's really what we're trying to get at here. I do have 2 more audience questions that I want to go into, and one of them is about risks in DeFi, and I think we kind of mentioned it earlier, where you were saying, well, if I have a problem with my credit card, I call my bank. What do I do in DeFi? And the question specifically is, how do we manage systematic risks in DeFi? So, like in traditional finance, there are central banks that can kind of be like a lender of last resort, private banks that can act somewhat as shock absorbers, but in DeFi, there's a lot of interconnection. It's quite complex. There's a lot of leverage that could then create systematic risk. So how can we manage and reduce this? What happens if something big goes bust?
Okay, so maybe I can start. So the biggest twist in DeFi, I see the cybersecurity, of course, because you have a risk of failure, especially in the smart contract design, and I have seen a lot of hacking in the DeFi, mainly to the access of smart contract. I see a second risk is, I'm sorry for that, I have to tell, because I have a lot of compliance department, so you don't have any KYC in the world of DeFi. So yes, it can be served for bad reason, and well, sorry to tell that, but it can be a big break for the future of DeFi, especially if you have a bad story, if you have the regulator behind. And the last point is linked to what you said regarding the financial stability. For the moment, there is still a big volatility of the crypto, and it can be a risk to the system. If it's growing, it's okay. If it's not growing, if it's decreasing, you will have some problem with the collateral. So definitely there is a problem of financial stability. For the moment, the amount in the DeFi is about 100 billions, I believe. So it's still a big problem in terms of financial stability. But if it's going to 1 trillion, yes, it will be, because I remember the story of the crypto. It was 4 or 5 years ago. The market capitalization was at 100 billion. Everybody was telling that it was not a financial stability. Now it's 3 trillion. So it's maybe 2.5 today, but it is a problem of financial stability now. And yes, it's a bit different. So for the moment, we need to understand more the world of DeFi and how to solve the financial stability in case of crisis. So something new for me.
I would like also to add about cybersecurity. Yeah, it's one of the very important things. So there are a lot of people who are like working on project replacing implementations by using, from our point of view, wrong patterns, like proxy patterns or something like that, and introducing like security risks. And we have seen already a lot of hacks, hundreds of millions of dollars stolen. And because like no one cares about security audits. Like in our case, I guess we have like at least 10 security audits from different companies around the globe, and I wish more. So you can never know. And for sure, you can mitigate some risks, like by introducing insurance, use Nexus Mutual, something like that, or OPIN. But still, yeah, from our point of view, people who release something in production should first maybe let like at least 5 security auditor companies. I know it's expensive. It's really expensive. And we had also the period of time where we had no money. We worked for 3.5 years. And yeah, but we were self-security experts. We were self-white hacking, head hacking some projects and reporting. Yeah. Yeah, and the KYC thing, I see it like that. So you need the entry point, you need the exit point. On the entry point in crypto, you have the KYC proof, and also on the exit point, you have to prove to the bank that you got this money from specific source. And I think it works, yeah, but still not that good how it should be. And maybe additional compliance layer should be introduced for DeFi itself.
Completely agreed on all of those. I would just add that there needs to be still a continued support for that open innovation in the space, and whatever kind of regulation and frameworks come with that, which can absolutely help improve from a security perspective, a risk perspective, these markets. I think that always needs to be with how to support continued innovation top of mind. We need the next hackathon projects, that create a new lending model to come out. We need the next wallet projects to onboard new users. So that's my other risk, is how to make sure we continue to drive that innovation.
So we are slowly but surely coming up to the end of the panel. So I want to end on a lighter note, maybe something more positive. So I want to ask each of you, since we are getting to the end of the year, what you would say, what is your Christmas wish, maybe your New Year's resolution that you want to get done or that you want to see happen in decentralized finance? And Sergej, feel free to start.
Yeah, I can start. So for me personally, I would love to keep building, keep innovating, building new things, improving the space, onboarding new people, let the institutions come into DeFi. These are kind of my personal goals right now here. And yeah, and have great time with these great people. Yeah, we have a really great team. We were like growing from like hackathon guys, and most of our guys also hackers. And I personally would love to travel again around the globe, and also participating in the hackathon as a hacker again, because I miss this very, very well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a wish all of us have is getting traveling again. Laurent, what about you?
So Sergej, you are welcome in Luxembourg if you want to travel. So for me, yes, I would love to have more projects of the famous bridge between financial institution and DeFi to create potentially new products and so on. And I just saw that I have a question in the chat just to say that if a bank wants to create product for retail, it will take a lot of time because the regulator will not authorize us to create product for retail right now. It's too early from a regulation perspective. So my wish is more project for banks in the world of DeFi for new products.
I think that's a good vision. I think that's what we all want a little bit.
Yeah, I'll say my mission for the new year is simply going to be supporting any projects across the globe that we can, whether that's financially, technically, from a marketing and awareness perspective. So that's what we're most eager to do. I think maybe lastly, I'll just add that we're also starting to see these DeFi primitives now be applied to new markets, whether that's payments, sustainability, collectibles, loyalty points. And for me, that's also an exciting growth area coming into the new year, as we'll start to see these new industries transformed by what we've seen happen in DeFi over the last few years.
Fantastic. So thank all three of you. I think it was quite an interesting panel, at least for me. I took some things away from it. I hope everybody listening did as well. And I see Daniel is already sitting here waiting.
Thank you very much for the discussion. It was a very nice discussion. I think we managed to answer some of the questions that the audience had. We went all things DeFi, from security to customer service to the business side of DeFi, regulation, even some Christmas wishes for DeFi for next year. So thanks a lot for sharing your insights, and to the audience, just I hope you can stay for 3 sessions more and just be as active as you've been on the chat, so you can go to schedule and click on the next session. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Stay healthy.